I started a company called Capstone Development Corp in 1990. In 2012, rather than sell Capstone Development Corp, I broke it into 4 companies, one of which is Capstone Real Estate Investments, which is owned by Kathy's and my 3 sons. It purchases existing properties and dramatically repositions it. I had the good fortune of growing up in Mountain Brook. I graduated in the first class from Mountain Brook High School in 1968. Then I went to the University of Alabama in '68 and graduated in 1972 in accounting. I have the good fortune of having married Kathy Nugent. Kathy and I got married in 1976, so we're approaching 47 years of marriage. We are fortunate to have had 3 sons, Drew, Christopher, and Lewis, and they in turn, and their wives, Kathy and I now have 8 grandchildren. My wife and I had an affinity for maybe buying older homes, fixing them up, reselling, and I started in real estate in that manner, and finally purchased my first commercial property in Montgomery. And from there, things just kept growing, and finally I left the accounting field and devoted my attention full-time to real estate development.
Mike has impacted my life and career other than my parents more than anyone. To this day, I will, if I have a large personal or business decision, I will go sit down with Mike and ask for advice and for his input, and he's always been willing to help me and share with me, and he's got a great deal of wisdom that he can pass on.
Mike and I have been friends and colleagues for 30 plus years now. I started with Capstone in 1990, so I've known Mike as a boss, as a colleague, as a business partner, and as a friend for 30 plus years.
Mike, most people probably don't know this, but was a pioneer in the student housing industry, and Capstone-wise.
Mike ultimately helped transform the student housing market sector to something that has become one of the strongest and most sustainable sectors in the residential real estate sector in history, really.
In fact, about 3 months ago, Mike was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award from the student housing industry, and it's only been given to one other person. After building 200 plus large communities over his career, that has certainly created a lot of jobs. We've always tried to use local banks, architects, engineers. I think job creation is a very large factor of how he's impacted the state.
Everybody that works at Capstone, most everybody was from Alabama, and so there was never a thought given to relocating Capstone. We've had offices elsewhere. As far as headquarters, it's always been in Birmingham, and in fact, when I broke Capstone into 4 separate companies, all 4 of those companies remain headquartered in Birmingham. Kathy and I have been blessed beyond our wildest expectation. And so we find it very emotionally rewarding to give.
The Lakeshore Foundation, we built the Hope Cottages for wounded veterans. And when the wounded veteran was getting rehabbed, and sometimes that was a long process, they would be away from their family. And so Mike said, why should they be away from their family? So we built the housing for the family to stay in while that veteran was getting rehabbed.
To see how the cottages were going to allow people going through similar challenges, it was very rewarding. The organization that we're probably most attracted to now would actually be the Adapted Athletic Program at the university. The naming rights for the Adapted Athletic Arena were really, it was a fun story. Kathy and I immediately, upon committing to be the lead sponsors, knew we did not want to name the arena after ourselves, and thought the only 2 individuals deserving of that honor were Margaret Strand and Brent Harden, the married couple who had started the program. I had told Margaret and Brent that I was going to name the building after Kathy. Brent had his hand around Kathy, thinking that when I made the announcement, she would get emotional. Little did he know that when I made the announcement, he got emotional, and Kathy had to put her arm around him. It's amazing to me that we were able to keep it quiet as long as we did. I retired from Capstone in 2012, and for the past 10 years have basically been able to undertake whatever type of development that I thought would prove interesting and fun. And so I'm lucky that I can continue to do what I have enjoyed doing for 35, 40 years. So I'm a blessed man.
You know, Mike is clearly an incredible businessman, but he might be a better person. I've always just been impressed with him, not only for his business acumen, not only for his passion, but for his humility. Every time I've had a gift conversation with him and with Kathy, it's always been about the impact on others. How is the gift going to change lives? How is it going to change the trajectory of the people who are going to benefit from the gift? And clearly, you know, my entire life rotates around people being generous and wanting to impact others. But Mike and Kathy are at the top of the list of people who do it for all of the right reasons. They're very selfless, they're very generous, and they are making a difference in the lives of lots of people at the University of Alabama.